is a hero, you might be asked? Perhaps a comic book figure comes to mind? I ask you, how many people can this hero save? You might symbolically say, a handful. But what if I tell you that there still exists a hero right in our real world who was once labeled as the greatest hero of humankind, who saved around 200 million lives during the World War II and still saves countless lives today? Welcome to the story of the savior of humankind, penicillin. What started as an accidental discovery on a petri dish by scientist Alexander Fleming went on to treat incurable diseases in those times and thus bridge the gap from incurable to curable, from disease to health, and from death to life. Originally obtained from Penicillium notatum, penicillin yield was later shifted to the high-yielding mutant of Penicillium chrysogenum. Penicillium is a beta-lactam antibiotic. Now you must think, why does that matter? Simply put, this category includes any antibiotic whose chemical structure includes a beta-lactam ring. Penicillins, cephalosporins, carbapamines, and monobactams are a few examples. Penicillin is divided into two types, natural and semi-synthetic. Natural penicillin included penicillin G and penicillin V. Semi-synthetic penicillin was further classified into three types: acid-resistant penicillin, penicillinase-resistant penicillin, and extended-spectrum penicillin. Now you might be wondering, why are there so many varieties of penicillin? Do they share a structure? Do they behave similarly? Do they share similar uses? Let's explore the subject further to learn more. Penicillin nucleus is made up of thiazolidine and beta-lactam with alkyl group as a side chain. Penicillin G has a benzyl ring at the site of alkyl group, while penicillin V has phenoxymethyl group. Now you might be wondering, why is it crucial for a clinician to understand this? You must be aware that intravenous and intramuscular administration of penicillin G are preferred over oral administration, while oral administration of penicillin V is possible. This is primarily due to the phenoxymethyl side chain in penicillin V, which guards against the beta-lactam ring being damaged by gastric acid. Natural penicillin works best against gram-positive bacteria and does not affect gram-negative bacteria except a few cocci. This is due to the variation in the cell wall structure in gram-positive and negative organisms. The cytoplasmic membrane is present in both gram-positive and gram-negative organisms as shown in the diagram. However, gram-positive organisms have a thicker cell wall than gram-negative organisms. You might be thinking that the gram-negative bacteria's thin cell walls make it simple for penicillin to enter them, but here's the catch. Gram-negative bacteria build up an additional protective outer membrane of lipid with porin channels to make up for the weak cell wall. These porin channels aid in the movement of materials in and out of the cell. Majority of gram-negative bacilli have very small porins, making it impossible for penicillin to pass through them. However, the porins in gram-negative cocci are larger and therefore penicillins can pass through them. So, to summarize, natural penicillins are effective against gram-positive cocci, bacilli, and a minority of gram-negative cocci. So with this, we can judge which of the bacilli in this list are susceptible to penicillin. Now let's talk about how penicillins work. Penicillin falls under the class of antimicrobial agents that prevent the synthesis of cell walls. Peptidoglycan, which is a component of the bacterial cell wall, is cross-linked by peptide chains. N-acetylmuramic acid and N-acetylglucosamine, which promote constant polymerization in the presence of UDP, are the structural and functional units of this. Pentaglycine aids N-acetylmuramic acid in promoting the polymerization of pentapeptide and its cross-linking with the neighboring strand. Cross-linking gives the cell wall its rigidity and stability. Consequently, how does penicillin impact the cell wall? Penicillin blocks the activity of transpeptidase, an enzyme necessary for the cross-linking of the peptidoglycan layers during cell wall synthesis and consequently for the production of peptidoglycans. Cell wall deficient forms of bacteria are produced which undergo lysis. This is the bactericidal effect of penicillin. When the bacteria actively multiply and synthesize cell walls, beta-lactams have a cidal effect. To sum up, The highly stable intermediate penicilloyl enzyme is formed when the antibiotic penicillin forms an irreversible bond with the enzyme transpeptidase and inhibits its activity. As a result of their Seibel effect, the cell wall becomes porous. We have a story for you to help you understand how penicillin and bacteria have evolved over time. To assert their dominance, bacteria and natural penicillin have engaged in a vicious turf war. All bacteria were initially sensitive to penicillin, which put them in danger. It was a fatal blow to the bacterial army. Staphylococci, an army general known for his brutality, discovered a sly soldier who was instrumental in winning the war as a response to this. This soldier was a skilled assassin with the ability to sever any beta-lactam ring in half with a single strike. It was beta-lactamase, also known as the penicillin cutter. Penicillin lost a lot of people, and as a result, no longer any of their assaults could kill bacteria. Although staphylococci looked down on penicillin, they were underprepared for what came next. Penicillin held one of the assassins in custody and then was aware of their strategies. To win against the penicillin cutter, penicillin developed a longer alkyl chain, which improved their defense capabilities and lessened the impact of beta-lactamase or the penicillin cutter. Naturally, lengthening the alkyl chain made them more resistant to beta-lactamase, but it also made them bulkier, which limited their spectrum. They were known as anti-staphylococcal penicillin because they could only affect Staphylococcus. Staphylococci, now scared for his life, disguised himself by changing the penicillin binding proteins he had, now living as a tougher version of himself. Methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, also known as MRSA. These infections are till date difficult to treat with penicillin. The MRSA strain was difficult to combat, but the penicillin army wanted more. By this time, all gram-positive cocci and bacilli and some gram-negative cocci also had been eliminated. They craved for more. To expand their area of attack, they appointed super soldiers, Captain Amoxicillin and Captain Ampicillin. They did so by decreasing the size of their alkyl chain, which made them less bulky, so they could even pass the cell wall of bacteria with small pore-in channels. This was excellent, but it also made them more vulnerable to beta-lactamase attack. To prevent this, clavulanic acid and amoxicillin were combined to form the augmentin team, while ampicillin was paired up with sulbactam under the team name of unacin. These girls would basically distract the beta-lactamases from doing their job, while amoxicillin and ampicillin would enter the cell. This story would have helped you understand how natural penicillins, which have a large alkyl group, can only affect a certain type of bacteria as opposed to broader spectrum penicillins, which have a smaller alkyl group and can affect a wider variety of bacteria. We also observed that bacteria's production of beta-lactamases rendered our drug ineffective, but rather than being discouraged, we developed a drug that could defend itself from beta-lactamase attack. Because they are so large and only have the ability to eradicate staphylococcal group, these are known as anti-staphylococcal penicillins. If you're enjoying the video, do leave a comment. It will really mean a lot to us. Let us now move on to understand the pharmacokinetics of the drug. Penicillin G is rapidly excreted in the urine by active tubular secretion and is relatively slow in infants because their renal function is not completely developed. Naturally, older people and people with renal failure excrete penicillin G slowly. To prolong the duration of action of penicillin, it is combined with poor water-soluble compounds such as procaine or benzathine to yield aqueous suspensions. They are called as repository or depot penicillin. A powerful medication like this will unavoidably have side effects. Hypersensitivity reactions such as skin rashes, urticaria, fever, dermatitis, bronchospasms, angioedema, joint pain, and serum sickness are just a few of its possible side effects. Anaphylaxis is one of its serious side effects. This is one of the factors that prevent doctors from prescribing penicillin today. One of its side effects is the Jarisch-Herxheimer reaction, which is an acute exacerbation of signs and symptoms of syphilis while receiving penicillin therapy. Endotoxins that have been released by dead organisms are blamed for the same. Manifestations include fever, chills, myalgia, hypotension, circulatory collapse, etc. are some of the symptoms. Aspirin and corticosteroids are used to treat it. The use of penicillin G has decreased as a result of the possibility of anaphylaxis and the accessibility of better antimicrobial agents. Now let's recapitulate with the help of a mind map. I'll use a mind map to help you summarize the subject in under 2 minutes. So to summarize, penicillin is classified as natural, semi-synthetic and repository. Natural penicillins are penicillin G and V, which differ in their alkyl side chain. Semi-synthetic are further classified as acid-resistant, penicillinase-resistant and extended-spectrum penicillin. After that, we looked at the composition and mode of action, where we could see how penicillin broke down the bacterial cell wall. We also talked about penicillin-sensitive and resistant bacteria, which is crucial in the context of competitive exams. Jarisch-Herxheimer reaction, along with the serious complication of anaphylaxis and other hypersensitivity reactions, is a significant penicillin side effect. They are used in dentistry to treat periodontal infections, necrotizing gingivitis, and Vincent's angina. They are also used in treatment of several infections as mentioned. Log into our website or mobile app to access these mind maps for free and have fun studying. If you enjoyed the story of penicillin, the unsung hero, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. You can also mention the topics you want us to cover in the comment section. See you in the next one. Until then, on your marks, Medi Study Go!